This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
Pacer Nation, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. The Indiana Pacers take down the Portland Trailblazers 121-114 behind. 29 points from Pascal Siakam, 28 points from Tyrese Haliburton, 24 points from Bennedict Mathurin, and 15 points from Myles Turner. My goodness, this was a star-filled game tonight where the guy showed up that you needed to the most, played a lot of minutes because the bench just didn't have it tonight. But Facci is not here. I told you I'm bringing on somebody that's got a ton of energy. It is none other than my man, Cammy from iPacers blog. I cannot wait to hear what you thought about this game. How are you doing, man?
Let's go, man. I'm excited. I'm glad to be on here. This is what, my fourth time? I think third.
Third or fourth?
I think third or fourth. Yeah. Always a good time, man. And Facci, we miss you. I'll try to fill in. I'll try.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm sure Facci would be feeling a little bit, excited after this one, a little bit more pep in the step. Are you going to have a pep in your step tomorrow?
I'll try to, man. I'll try to. I don't know if I can match him, but I'll try to.
Man, it's hard to match Facci, but I got to throw this out here at you, okay? Tyrese Haliburton, Sunday night, 21 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, a plus 12. Against New Orleans on Monday night, I think that was Sunday versus Washington. Monday night versus New Orleans, 34 points, 13 assists, 9 of 18 from 3, 3 steals, plus 16. Tonight against Portland, 28 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 5 of 10 from 3, 2 steals, plus 17. Do you still think this man needs to sit out because he's injured?
Okay, so are you coming at me already? Okay.
Got to start the pod with this. iPacers blog. Cammy had a article talking about Tyrese needs to take a few games off, a few weeks off.
Right.
Find his mojo, but I think he's found it.
I think he's found it too, and I'll put that on one person. One person is to blame for how well he's been doing and how he's been able to take some of the burden off and basically, play his game. And I'm gonna put that on Quenton Jackson. Revelation, incredible. Because my main thing was he should sit out, but he can't because Nembhard is out. That's a backup point guard. And so if he sits out, then McConnell's the only starting point guard. And I feel like McConnell's style of play doesn't go, it doesn't work if you play him 30 minutes a game, He's a very short spurts hustle guy, So I felt like if we started McConnell, we have no backup point guard. We'd have to run Newton at point guard. I don't know if he's ready yet. Had to run Jackson. This is when Jackson was not very good. Was playing like spot minutes at the end of games. Couldn't shoot, back then. But now I'd say if he's playing like this, if Tyrese is playing like this, where he's getting the floor opened up for himself, he's getting to the rim. If he's not getting to the rim, he's taking his shots and he's making them. I mean, at the start of this game, when he still had the mask on, there was a point where he got to the rim at the foul line and basically stopped on a dime and then threw a turnover. It was I'm not sure if you saw that in the first quarter, I believe. And at that point, at that point I was like, don't let this be one of those games. Don't let this be one of those games. And then that was the last time I said that, because he didn't do that anymore. He shot when he needed to shoot and he passed when he needed to pass. He had a really nice go into the room, really nice wraparound outside like the Dr. J layup, basically that, but a pass to the corner to I think Myles or Pascal for the 3.
I think it was Pascal.
Pascal for the 3, and that gave us some momentum. I was like, he's playing his game.
You put the stats out tonight, right? On your Twitter. Do you have it pulled up for pre-mask Haliburton versus post-mask?
Yeah.
That was incredible to me. I was so glad that you pulled that up because we were all kind of sitting on media row watching him, and we're like, man, he just looks like he's not comfortable with that mask. He's just fudging with it too much. All of a sudden, you just see him rip it off after he misses a shot.
Yeah.
Throws it down on the ground, and all of a sudden he hits his next jumper. So what were the stats on that?
I mean, if you saw earlier when there was a scene of him walking with the mask, this strap was loose. The bottom left strap was loose. It was broken, actually. It was broken. So at that point, I was like, either this mask doesn't fit him or he just doesn't like it. And before the mask, 14 minutes, 7 points, 2 of 5 from the field, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, and 2 fouls. He was playing, he looked like vision was obstructed. I don't know if the mask didn't fit, or I don't know if it was the straps, but something was wrong.
He said the mask did not bother him in terms of like not being able to see, but then again, I don't know.
Yeah. He says a lot of things that I don't believe.
Okay, I'm not gonna get down this rabbit hole with you, but I appreciate it.
But takes off the mask, 25 minutes, 21 points, 6 of 11, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 turnover, no fouls. I
Yeah.
mean, played less aggressive on defense. And when I say less aggressive, he was still getting steals, but how do I say this? He wasn't reaching in as much. He wasn't
Mhm.
reaching in. He wasn't committing shit. It was like minute shave fouls, something that Shaq said when you're tired, you just foul shaving. He wasn't foul
Gotcha.
shaving, which I see guys like him do that a lot, where you're tired, you just foul, get stoppage and plays. He looked more energetic without the mask on, and it was just completely different player.
Yeah, he said that the mask was not mandatory, that it was an option, and he was able to determine if he wanted to wear it or not. So he said, you know what, I'll try it tonight. He said his nose is a little tender from when he got hit against New Orleans, right? You remember that cut that he had there at the end of the game where he
Still
was
has
bleeding?
it.
Yeah,
Still has
bleeding
it.
from the nose, though. Like, it was bad against New Orleans, and I don't think they called a foul, and he was like super ticked about it. But he was basically saying, like, I decided I was going to wear him in warmups, and I saw him in warmups with the mask, and I said, oh, okay. And so I was hoping James Johnson would have the mask on, another mask on, just to support him on the bench. We didn't see that tonight. I was a little disappointed from James Johnson. I mean, you got
Yeah.
to make yourself known out
Come
there,
on,
JJ.
James. Come
But
on, James.
regardless, right? Like Haliburton, I think the one thing I do like about him is when you ask him a question, he answers it genuinely. And that's what I think every media member has loved about him being here is like you can ask him tough questions, even if he doesn't want to answer, like he's still going to give you something, right? And so, he's feeling a lot better about himself. We haven't really seen him fully go and skipping down the court like we saw last year, but I do think
Coming.
that
It's coming.
I do think it's coming. And I think the other part is this man's playing like 40 minutes a game right now because the team has been so bad behind him. Might just be a concentrated effort to not waste energy on skipping when you have to give so much on both ends of the floor. So his
Yeah,
game tonight,
no.
though, like I thought it was incredible, especially in the fourth quarter. Really lifted this team when they needed him. But to me, he wasn't the standout performer in this game. Who do you think was a standout performer?
Oh, it's easily Pascal. It was easily
Okay.
Pascal.
Talk to me
You
about
talk about
Pascal.
you talk about guys being fatigued. Pascal looked tired. He looked tired. After the first half, he looked winded. And it was like, do you sit him? Do you play him? Because I don't want the guy to, run himself to death out there because we don't have that much front court depth, of course. And this lineup that we run sometimes of Obi, Pascal, and Jarris on the floor, not a fan because they're three variants of the same player, and I don't know how well that works without a center on the floor. So I didn't like those lineups, and I feel like in those lineups he has to carry more of the offensive load because he's the only guy out of those three who can create a shot for himself. But my God, just everything was butter. Everything. Bottom of the net. There was this one play in the fourth quarter, I think with like 6 minutes left. He was on the left side and he hit a spin and he hit a fade. As soon as he hit that spin, I was like, okay, down the court. We got those points.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought Pascal was great tonight. I mean, I know Tyrese got really close in points, but it really didn't feel like he was that close in terms of like scoring at the same level that Pascal was. Pascal was just absolutely tremendous in this game. And so I was really impressed with what he was able to do. And it felt like every time the Pacers needed a big bucket when the game got tight, here was Pascal hitting an 8-foot turnaround jumper in the post. And like you said, it was butter. I mean, we talked about that on Media Row. We just kept saying that's butter. So great point. And I wanted to bring up something you said earlier when talking about Tyrese, right? I was giving you a hard time about your article, and you said, you know what's changed all that? I thought you were about to say the fact that you wrote it, but you said Quenton Jackson.
Yeah.
And can we just take a moment and just talk about the impact that Quinton Jackson has had on this team since he's been a starter, right? This team desperately needed some energy and someone that doesn't really need to put the ball in the hoop, a guy that understands his role, and he is proving day in and day out why he deserves to be on an NBA roster. This man is on a two-way contract, and I know back in the summer, watching him play as the primary ball handler, I was a little bit concerned about that. I was like, I really don't see it with him as a point guard, but I love the role that he's in now. I think this man has done it 3 straight games in a row, flopped on a screen and gotten a foul called against the other team. I mean, it's just an incredible acting job by him, so he deserves that Oscar. But I just think the way that you see him sprint up and down the court, they're having him guard Anthony Simons, who goes off for 30, but still, like, you have to put somebody on him, right? Then he has that chase down block that was incredible. He had the alley-oop from Tyrese. Like, he just has so many energy plays that are massive, you know, they just lift the team so big, right? With the fan base getting behind it. So I'm a massive Quenton Jackson fan. I cannot say enough great things about him. I mean, anything else you want to add on QJ?
Okay, first of all, flopping when we do it good, flopping when they do it bad. You got to remember that.
I like
You
that.
got to
That's
remember
exactly
that.
it.
Yeah. Well, with Quenton, I said this, I tweeted this during the game. He's basically a small version of Neesmith. Same player. Same
Okay.
player, but a bit feistier, a bit quicker on his feet. He's only, I think, 22 years old, I believe. 26
Yeah.
years old. 26 years old. So he hasn't really hit his prime yet. But yeah, I agree with you. When I saw him last year ending games, I think he played 3 games last year for us. I saw him at the end of games. I was like, who is this guy? I've never seen 29 on the floor before. I had to tweet out. I was like, who is this guy? I've never seen him play for us. And then they're like, that's Quinton Jackson, whatever. And then first question, why is his name spelled like that? Quenton. That's the first question I had. Second question is, when did we pick this guy up? But you know what? Whatever. I see him play during summer league. I'm like, nah, I don't see it. I don't see it because just a hustler, running, can't really shoot the ball. I was like, I mean, why are we keeping this guy on? I only had interest in like 3 guys from summer league, so I thought that was the last we'd see of Quenton Jackson. I think it was the Rockets game, that I didn't watch where we started Quenton. I think
Yep.
that was the game. That was the game after Shepard got hurt, right? Or was
I believe
the game
so.
after? It was the game after the game after, or something like that.
Yeah, I think I don't remember if Shepard played in the Raptors game or not. I can't remember. I think he did.
His
I think he got
his
hurt.
last game was the Miami game. The second Miami game was the last game.
Okay, so he didn't play in Toronto, and
Yeah,
that's
he didn't play in Toronto.
so it was I forget who they started. I think they started Jarris in Toronto.
Exactly. They started Jarris and they started Freeman. That was the wacky lineup. That was
Right, because Turner was out as well, and so then they played Quenton Jackson with the starting 5 that's out there now. Since that Houston game.
Yeah, since that Houston game. With that Houston game, I was like, before the game, I was like, I don't know, man. This guy's a G League. This guy's a G League 2-way guy. I don't know. And then he has 24 in that game. And I'm like, okay, is it out of necessity? Or can he do this? Because, you guys score 24 in a game. If your team is depleted enough, anybody can score 24.
Yeah.
And then couple games pass, not that much. And then he has 12 in the Pelicans game. And that 12 is like, it still baffles me, because he was 4 of 6 from deep. I think the only shots he made were threes.
Yeah.
And before this game, for his career, he was shooting 4 for 24 from deep, which is terrible. It's like 16%.
Yeah.
16%. After that game, it went up 10%, his career 3-point shots. So those threes that he made in that Pelicans game account for half the threes he's made in his entire career. And, you've heard the term magnet ball before, right?
What's magnet ball?
Magnet ball, like people saying like the ball's got magnets in it. That's why it keeps going in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, we got to investigate this because no way, no way. Guy couldn't shoot in Summer League. Guy couldn't shoot last year. Guy couldn't shoot with Washington before that. Now he's making these. And then I'm like, well, if they're leaving him open, anybody can hit a shot if you leave him open.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that was a big thing, right? Because they were like, we're not going to respect him. Like you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's a G League guy. He doesn't have a good percentage 3-point shooting wise. You play the numbers and he burned them with it, right? Couldn't make a free throw that whole game, but he could drill from 3 and they were pretty clutch shots. Like he hit some big shots.
Very. And yes. I think
sometimes, let me just say this real quick. I think sometimes, and I mentioned it with Nimhard too, because there's times when you just see guys take shots out of necessity a little bit, but it's also like they have to take this shot because shot clock's winding down, like open guy, you just got to take it and you can't really think about it. And I think in those moments when you get a guy that doesn't have a great shooting percentage from that distance, if he's not thinking too much about it, he's just catching and shooting and letting it go, that's probably going to be more likely to go in than not. Because when you're mentally thinking about it, like you saw Tyrese, that one that he took early in the first half, right? Wide open from about 3 feet behind the 3-point line, takes one dribble in, shoots it, and like a defender was able to close out closer on him and he ends up missing the shot. It's like, just take the long one. We know you can make it. Yeah. So it's just I think that too often when you got shooters out there that are, whether they're good or not, like they have a mental thing where they're thinking like, oh, they overthink the shot. And it's like, just take the open and don't overthink it.
My thing is, you're in the NBA for a reason. All right. So if you're in the NBA, you can't be that bad of a scorer. You know,
Exactly.
you're gonna make the open ones. And this is what I was concerned with when we lost Shep, because Shep is the king of the timely three. The king of the timely three. Like, I'll say this a situation. Pacers up 6. This I don't remember this from a game. I'm just saying this, a fantasy thing. Pacers up 6. 4 minutes left. We need a 3. We've missed our last 4. Shep open in the corner. He will make that 10 times out of 10. And 11 on Saturdays.
We don't play Saturdays, do we?
No, we don't, but he does. But
no. I get what you're saying, though. You need guys that are not afraid to take shots. But even Shepherd, that kind of goes to my point that I was saying about Jackson. Like, I think Shepherd is, in theory, a better shooter than his percentages show.
Easily,
but he hits big time threes, right? Like, this is not a good 3-point shooter from distance for his career, even though it looks like every time he shoots the ball, it's going to go in. He did shoot well during the playoffs, but he did not shoot well during the regular season last couple of years.
31% last season. Not good. But stretches is the thing. Stretches, like, because if you shoot 20% from deep in 10 games, then yeah, of course, not a good shooter. But then say the next 10 games, you shoot 40%, that evens out to like 33%, So I don't know what the math is on that, but, law of averages, it's not going to look good at the end, but if you break it down game by game, stretch by stretch, yeah, man. Because with Shepherd last year, he wasn't that good of a shooter for the entire year, but this one stretch when Mathurin went out, I think 5 games, at the end of, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm looking at his game log, but I think it was one game where he had 15 against Dallas, if you remember that.
Okay.
15 against Dallas.
I'm having a hard time remembering last year's season just because I'm so engrossed in this year's season.
Fair enough. It was the game. I think that was when Mathurin tore his labrum. That was when
the same game that happened.
I believe so. 15 points that game. He was 5 of 5 from deep. And then for the next 10 or so games, he averages around 7 points, but he's shooting 42% from deep.
Yeah.
So, like, sure, he's not scoring that much. Sure, he wasn't a good shooter before, but if you leave the guy open, he was drafted as a 3D shooter. Of course he can shoot. If he's not taking contested ones, then they're going to go in.
Yeah, and you gotta, like you said, you gotta leave somebody open, right, to stop something. And so if Siakam is in the mid post and he's running a pick and roll with Haliburton, you got to help out on the weak side. If Shepherd's out there open from 3 and Haliburton or Siakam is able to spray it out to him and he knocks it down, like, you gotta play that. You gotta take your chances. Like, all right, I'll leave Shepherd open for 3 versus allowing Tyrese to get comfortable. So
of course,
you got to take advantage of those opportunities too when you are left open. But this was a good game in terms of players that stepped up. And I think Ben Mathurin was one that really came through for this team. Him and Myles Turner both had a plus 22 in this game. And you could really feel the difference when both those guys were off the floor. They both played around 40 minutes tonight. Turner, you could definitely feel it when they had Obi Toppin out there at the 5 or Moses Brown in form. It was not working whatsoever in this game. You needed Myles Turner to play as many minutes as he did, even though he only shot, I believe it was 1 of 7 from 3. He was so impactful on the interior, both offensively and defensively. Had 5 blocks tonight, but Mathurin really, really got things going on there offensively, and I believe it was in the third quarter, maybe even some of the second, and it felt like, okay, this guy's heating up, and so it finally felt good to see the ball go in for him because he has had some games here recently where he's not been as efficient offensively. But tonight, he found a way to get the ball into the basket when the Pacers needed it the most, and I felt like he deserved that podium game because he played so well.
We're talking about Ben here, huh? All right. So I know people have been getting on you for saying, like, before this, for saying, like, he shouldn't be starting because, the defense and, the tunnel vision and whatsoever. But I agree with that to an extent because at times I see him, with his back to his man on defense, or I see him, this is a classic Mathurin move, drive to the rim, take the contact, and just fall.
Okay.
Not even, like at the free throw line, fast break, going too fast for his own good, and he just falls and gets the turnover. He drew a foul on one in this game, but he does that a lot. He's very reckless with, he's the most controlled, reckless player I've ever seen because at times he's going to shake you down, hit the 3. And at times he's out there like a wounded gazelle, just like running with no sense of where the ball is. But man, these past few games, even his bad games, I feel like have been good. Because, when he's not scoring, this is the first time I've ever seen him do this. He's contributing on other things. Like, if you have a bad score, because last season and the season prior, if Mathurin's not scoring, get him out. He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
This season, I feel like he's doing better. He's doing better on other ends. I looked at his box plus minus or on and off numbers. They're way better compared to last season and the season before. I wouldn't say he's a positive defender yet, but he's a negligible negative or a neutral at this point, I think.
No,
I think
you're bringing up some good points. One thing I do want to add in here real quick is just the rebounding. I mean,
oh my God.
That has been crucial. He led the team in rebounds once again. And that's where you're kind of talking about. Like, even if he's not scoring, he's finding ways to impact the game. And right now it is a little bit by necessity because the Pacers are thin with a lot of their wing players out. But also, he's taken advantage of this opportunity to play through some mistakes, and he's learning from it. And so I think this is really what the pushback was from fans. Like, let him learn and grow through his mistakes by giving him ample playing time compared to 13, 14 minutes a game. Like, give him 20 plus every single game.
Yeah.
And that is a fair argument. My whole point was people acted like Nembhard and Nesmith were just awful and did not deserve to be starters over Mathurin, whereas I felt the complete opposite because I feel like last year's playoff run to the Eastern Conference Finals should have some weight carried over into the season, and that was only, game 4 when I said that? So, sure, I'm not going to justify what I said. I was wrong about Mathurin to a certain degree, but I do think that he has proven that he's been able to take that hard coaching that Rick Carlisle has given him and turn that into a positive to show Rick that he can be more of an impactful player without just being a scorer like you mentioned.
No, for sure. And like what you were saying, like what people are saying and like what you were saying, 14, 13 minutes is not enough for the guy because because you can't play him 13, 14 minutes and expect him to be confident and be in his game when he's starting because you keep playing him more. He's doing great in 40 minutes. He played 40 minutes tonight, the most of anybody tonight. It works.
Who else are you going to play, right? I mean, if you look at the roster, who else are you going to play? Jarris Walker, absolutely been awful the last couple of weeks.
Not good.
Donnie Furphy has not been great. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. Who else you got?
Nembhard injured, Tristan Newton, no. You gotta play him, and he's stepping up in these 40 minutes. I'll say this about Ben: he doesn't get tired. He doesn't. He doesn't get tired. I don't know how he scores to this level how he scores to this extent, has this much energy, and he's still diving for loose balls. I don't get it.
Hey, diving for loose balls is something we hadn't seen from him in the last couple of years.
No. I swear. Last season, there's a loose ball on the floor. Mathurin would look away at times. He would look away, and he'd be like, all right, somebody's gonna get it. I'll spot up, or however he talks. Somebody's going to get it, I'll spot up.
You got a deep voice. I like the impersonation.
Yeah. But now it's like, I'm going to get it, and I will give you the pass if you're open. He's passing more.
Yeah.
And in the first Knicks game, the blowout, the one that we that one. There was one play in the first quarter where Mathurin caught the ball, corner 3. Guy was closing in. Pump fake, took a step in, hit the mid-range. He wouldn't do that last year.
No.
In my wildest dreams, he would not do that last year. You know what he'd do? He'd force it. He'd force the issue. He's not forcing the issue this year. Not as much, at least. There are times where he goes back into old habits, but for the most part, he's not forcing the issue. He's letting the game come to him.
Yeah. And now let me ask you this, because I feel like the Pacers, with this version of the team, this season, have taken a handful of mid-range jumpers that we did not see last year, because the last couple of years, in the regular season, everything was layups or three-pointers. You rarely saw the Pacers take 15 to 18 footers, where now you have Pascal Siakam, who is a guy that thrives in the mid-range. And so I think Carlisle has allowed this group to kind of flow a little bit differently in terms of like, okay, it's okay. We do still want as many threes and as layups as possible, but if we have a mid-range shot, we're going to take that open shot. And I think that's part of the game where Mathurin's really evolved, because I felt like he's always been a good mid-range shooter. But when you're getting told, Chris Duarte said this, right, that they called the mid-range jail. It was threes and layups. And so if Mathurin is trying to do what the coaching staff is, telling them to do and imploring them to do, hey, shoot threes or get to the basket, that would be probably why he would force, instead of pulling up 6 to 8 feet in shooting a floater or
Exactly.
or a mid-range jumper. So I do think that the way they're kind of structured right now, Carlisle mentioned this. I don't know if you heard this or not. That is really interesting, and it probably should be more of a talking point. He talked about Tyrese Haliburton, and he said Tyrese Haliburton is a great player, but he's a system player. And right now, we can't run our system because of the guys that we have out. So we've had to adjust our system to be something that we're not used to playing with, and he's figuring it out. And that was after the game against New Orleans. So I thought that was interesting that he called him a system player, but an all-star in a system, right? He said he needs a system to kind of make himself better. And I would agree with that. I think he does need that because playing fast and focusing on offense is big. But I think the adjustment has been, okay, we're without these guys that are, fast-paced, run and gun kind of guys like Neesmith and Nembhard are, even Isaiah Jackson to a certain degree. Now you're playing a little bit slower with Turner playing a heavier amount of minutes, Siakam getting the ball more, kind of the ball sticking there. And I think Mathurin kind of does the same thing. He's a guy that you said he's passing more, but he still has to process for a second. And there's been times where he hasn't just kicked it to the open guy. He waits a second, surveys the court, and then makes the pass. So I think that everything is just kind of like, at this point, with how bad the team has been playing prior to this week, Carlisle is like, let's dip into the mid-range a little bit more because we just got to get good looks, and I don't really care how they come.
See, I am a firm disbeliever of the threes and layups only strategy. I call that Mika D'Antoni ball, and that's why the Rockets never won anything. Yeah, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work because I mean, at some point you have to take mid-ranges. They're there for a reason. And because teams don't really respect the mid-range anymore, I mean, they'll kind of let you get it in a way. And if you have somebody like Pascal, where even with a hand in his face, he can still score, got to take advantage of that. You got to take advantage of that. And I mean, Tyrese, what I've noticed about Tyrese is he's a pretty good half-court player, but he's not a good half-court player when he's forced to be one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If he's dribbling the ball up the court and he's setting the offense up with like 16, 14 seconds left on the shot clock and he's at the half court, sure, he could do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if there are 4 seconds left and the defense is hounding him, then like no, he can't. I mean, can't do anything. And that's what I've known. We played some half court ball in this good stretch compared to when we were bad earlier. But the difference between that and this is, at that stretch, in the New York game, the first one, we were playing right into their defense. It was like, they want you to play half-court ball, and you're going to play half-court ball? What are you doing? The second New York game is like, they want you to play half-court ball, run them into the ground. So many transition points. I mean, of course, last game, the half-court alley-oop, no-look from Tyrese to Mathurin, I'm like, do more of that. Do more of that. But don't go for it if they know you're going to do it,
Right.
You hit them when it's like an RKO out of nowhere. You hit them when they least expect it.
Got our first wrestling reference in there, right?
For sure. I was wearing a CM Punk shirt before this, and I quickly went up and changed into a Pacers shirt to make it more appropriate. Why'd you change?
You should have wore it.
I should have, but I got to represent the brand.
We know you're a wrestling guy. I would even say you love wrestling more than Pacers basketball.
Let's not go there.
Really? You like Pacers more?
It's 50-50. It's 50-50.
Okay. It's an equal love.
God. Yeah, for
You don't have a favorite child, right?
Exactly. It's so funny because it's like the Pacers and basketball thing for me is like, you ask somebody who their favorite child is, they're not going to tell you what it is. They have one, but they're not going to tell you who it is,
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is with me.
You're talking about the Rockets game last week, and I'm like, bro, I was seeing you tweet. You were watching AEW. You were not even paying one bit of attention to this game.
Exactly that, but I saw the stat line after that. I saw the stat line, and I saw Quenton before that. I'm gonna be honest, I needed that. I needed that day to like not watch the Pacers. I was like, fair. I'm not doing this today. But next game I got back into it, and it was a needed break.
It really was. Now, I do want to kind of close things out here with a few different more topics just shortly. I did mention Myles Turner for a minute. I want to go back to him. I felt like his impact was just massive in this game, and I did not feel like the box score, if you look at it, 15 points, 8 rebounds, like what is that really saying? But 5 blocks was massive. I thought he was absolutely awesome in trying to break up some of those alley-oop throws that Portland had. I know that Rick Carlisle praised his efforts in the pick-and-roll defense with Anthony Simons, who was really hot. I think the Pacers held Simons to just 2 points in the fourth quarter. So That's really impressive. I haven't looked at the stats to verify that, but that's what Carlisle said, so I'm going to go with it. But regardless, like the fact that Turner tonight surpassed 1,300 career blocks and 4,000 rebounds, hitting two big milestones, no pun intended, in this game, it's really cool to see. And I know I put this tweet out a couple of weeks ago. I said, what do you think is the main reason for the Pacers' struggles? It was after the Miami game. And I don't know why, but like 80-some% were saying Myles Turner. And I just didn't feel like that. Were you one of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to call you out. I didn't know that you said it exactly,
Go
but
ahead.
The way he has turned things around since that game, there's a reason why the Pacers have looked better since that moment. Now, obviously, they had a rough road stretch after that big Miami win, but he was hurt against Toronto, did not play in that game. They all played really bad in Houston. And then I thought in the second half against Milwaukee, things kind of slowly turned around and this team started playing better. So since this homestand, though, Myles has looked really good. And so I'm just curious, the impact Myles Turner had on this game tonight specifically, but also the impact he's had in the last couple.
What's funny is that Heat game was the one that we won. That was on the 17th of November, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the
Fachi's
game before
birthday.
that.
Happy belated birthday, Fachi.
Happy birthday. And the game before that was on the 15th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what's funny is after that game on the 15th, I put out an article saying that Myles Turner is having an anti-contract year, if you know what I mean.
Exactly.
You know what a contract year is? And he was having an anti-version of that. It was like, when a guy does better before his contract year to get that bag, Whiteside, Jamal McGlure. I'm dating myself here, but Whiteside, Jamal McGlure, guys like that. That's not, people call me old. That's not going to help.
How old are you, Cammy?
20. I'm 20. I'm not 30. Not 30 like people say. I'm 20.
You're only 20 years old?
2-0.
And you're pulling out Jamal McGlure references?
I could go
Are
deeper
you sure
if
you're
you
not
want
40?
me to. I'm not 40. I just played NBA Live 2004 as a child.
Okay, I respect it. All right, I'll let you get back to your point. So you were writing this article, anti-contract.
About him, anti-contract year, and I was basically saying stats look good on paper, but if you dig deeper, if you look at the film, the analytics, and I don't like analytics, but I'm going to look at them in this case. He wasn't given any effort. He was shying away from rebounds. He wasn't guarding shots. And what I noticed is in that second Knicks game, he was doing really well on Cat. Like in the fourth quarter specifically, he held Cat to some pretty big misses down the stretch. And I'm like, you can go, bro, you contest shots, you're good at them. Contest those shots. And then in this game, this game right here, this game against the Blazers, he had that big block on Simons, I think in the third quarter, giving it to Tyrese, stepping back, going out of bounds, cash. I'm like, that's what we need, because defense starts runs. That's what my opinion is. Defense starts runs. Defense starts momentum, and it switches momentum. And Myles' defense tonight was flawless. I mean, he had that one stupid foul on a three-pointer, if you remember. It was like in the first quarter.
Yeah, it was against Simons, I think it was, contesting the shot.
Simons.
He just needed to put his hand straight up and contest it, but he went too far and tried to block it.
He went in, yeah. He got the contest, but, he got the foul.
Yeah,
after that, it fell. Was that before or after Pascal yelled at everybody?
I think that was before.
That makes sense. He probably told Myles a little bit about that because, championship experience. Pascal's a good defender himself. He probably told Myles, like, hey, man, hand straight up, Roy Hibbert, verticality, Yeah. So guard the guys. That big block in the third quarter. Good defense on Ayton. I always get on Ayton because I think he doesn't give a lot of effort. I call him lazy because he could be so much better, and that's why I'm glad that signing got vetoed. Not vetoed, but got matched.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but the guy's 7'2". I feel like anybody with that size is a problem for Indiana. But Myles was doing really well. If you remember, this one alley-oop attempt, Ayton caught it, or somebody caught it. He had two hands on it, brought him back down. And then the guy went back up with it, contested the shot again, and it led to points on the other end, I think by Tyrese.
Yeah.
I think it was a three. It was a three. But
I think you're right. But we'll just think about the dunk Myles tried to attempt on Ayton too.
Man, I think there's a little bit of
I think it's one-sided. I think it's one-sided.
Yeah.
From Myles, which I can't blame the guy. The Pacers basically said, we think he's better than you by giving him the contract offer sheet, right? I mean, and they gave him a max deal, and they were trying to do a sign and trade with Phoenix to send Myles to Phoenix. I mean, that was all reported. And so you have to
Yeah.
know, like, after everything Turner went through, he said, I just want a chance with Tyrese to prove myself as a solo big. And the Pacers were about to not give it to him. And I
It would
think
have
the
been a
Pacers would say, you
disaster.
know what? That would have been a bad mistake if
It
we
would
would
have been a
have. I
disaster.
still think Ayton would have been better had he been in Indiana compared to Phoenix and Portland because of the
But
culture.
mm,
But because I don't think Carlisle would put up with the crap, right? I think
no,
Carlisle's
no, no, no,
old
no.
school, and he would have cut that out a long time ago, or they would have traded him,
Yeah.
right? He might
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
involved in the Siakam trade, but I I just think personally, like, this worked out the right way. Turner takes it personally, and you can't blame the guy for wanting to take it personal because of everything that comes with that, like just your pride
Yeah.
in general. Like, every
Yeah.
man has pride, and every man has testosterone, and so you're going to, like, just take it personal. And I don't think Ayton gives
Mhm.
two craps about this rivalry. I think Ayton just like, I got paid. I live in Phoenix and Portland, probably a little bit more exciting than Indiana for him. I mean, especially being from that area. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I think that it's good to see Turner take stuff so personally, but I want to go back to what you said. You wrote an article about him saying anti-contract year. You wrote an article
Mhm.
about Tyrese Haliburton. Is there such thing as the Cammy curse?
It might be. It might be, honestly.
But
It
it's a
might
good
be.
curse, right? You write a bad thing about somebody,
Yeah.
they start playing well. Can I put a request in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we get an article about how Jarris Walker's been struggling?
Jab, yeah. Yeah,
Because
it's
I need
just
him to break
I
out of his
don't
slump.
yeah, no, it's not good. And this is part of why I wish Carlisle played him more last season because he's not ready, man. He's not ready. He's not ready.
Do you
And
think last year would have helped that much?
I think last year, I mean, giving the guy some run would have helped because there were times in blowouts where he wouldn't even play. And at that point, it's like, let the guy play. Give him 5 spot minutes, 10 spot minutes at the end of games because now he looks lost out there. He
It's
looks
a confidence
lost out
thing.
there. It's definitely a confidence thing, and I think you've seen this before, where he makes a bad pass or has a bad decision, and Carlisle's immediately screaming behind him. There was one point in a game earlier where he had a bad decision. I think he muffed on a pass. Carlisle was screaming at him and told Mathurin get in the game. If you
Yeah.
remember that,
Yep.
yeah. So I'm like, that's not gonna help the guy's confidence. You gotta be. I mean, hard but fair. Hard but fair. You gotta be hard but fair to the guy.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
is he being fair though by pulling him for not playing right? Because the thing is, tonight he was a minus 19 in a game the Pacers
Oh
won
my
by 7.
god. My God.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
He
it
was
it
awful
was bad.
tonight. Every bad lineup combination, he was involved, whether it was
Yes.
with Haliburton and Turner or with the bench unit.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel bad saying it because I don't want to crap on the guy while he's down. I think there's a lot of potential there with Jarris. We've talked about this on this podcast several different times. Like, we believe in Jarris Walker as a potential player, but he is just in his head way too much. And my biggest concern with him is, you talked about those bad passes, Cammy, right?
Mhm.
It's indecisiveness. It's like he's Tony E said it best sitting next to me. He said it's almost like he's like trying to throw the ball soft so he doesn't hurt somebody when they catch it. You know what I mean? Like, it's
He
just,
doesn't know his own strength. He doesn't know his own strength.
he doesn't know how gifted of a passer he is, because there's been times when he's got a rebound and just threw the ball up the floor, and it's like a perfect, you know, outlet pass to a guy in
Oh my
transition,
God.
catch, lay it up. But it's like he catches the ball top of the key, the ball stops, the offense stops moving. He's trying to process what to do next. It's just like there's so much going on. I think the game is kind of fast for him still, and he's trying to adjust. And I think Carlisle, like, I asked him about it, like, how do you think your bench has done? Like, these younger guys have done with this opportunity. And I put a tweet out about it. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on my Twitter feed. But like, he basically just said, getting minutes does not guarantee you're going to play well. It's actually a
for
big
sure.
responsibility to have real minutes. And some
For
of these
sure.
guys are kind of going through that now. He didn't say specific names or anything like that, but
Thankfully.
I think that we all kind of know, like,
Hmm.
Mathurin definitely taking advantage of these minutes,
Yeah.
right? Jarris
Mhm.
Walker, this is basically like his rookie season. So
Mhm.
it's just, you're giving him a great opportunity here, and he's not earning it. And me and Foch talked about this, and I hated saying it, but you got a guy on a two-way contract, Quenton Jackson, who definitely deserves more playing
effort.
time moving forward when everyone's
Mhm.
healthy than a guy like Jarris Walker. And
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Jarris Walker spends a handful of minutes in the G League once you get everybody healthy.
And this is a great callback. Remember that podcast we did, you, me, and Woody? Remember that? It was
Okay.
right before the trade deadline. Right before
Okay,
the
I
trade
do
deadline.
vaguely remember it.
Yeah, I said that because Jarris's biggest comparison has been Draymond Green. I'm sure you've heard that before.
I've heard it, yeah.
And I said this back then. I said you can't compare him to Draymond because Draymond's basketball IQ is something you can't compute. You can't computate. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a word, but you
It sounds
can't,
good to me.
Yeah, but you can't put that into numbers. You can't, because Draymond can stop a 3-on-1 fast break, and then he could whip that thing, outlet pass to somebody who's got a layup out there. Jarris can do that, but will he? But will he?
No.
One out of five times he can do that.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it. I've seen him stop fast breaks. I've seen him throw outlet passes, but it's an IQ thing, and it's a confidence thing, really, because it's kind of like oh, you're nervous. What are you nervous about? You're jacked. You can shoot. You're so good at this. What are you doing, man? You know the amount of people in the league who would kill to have your athletic gifts and to have the skill that you have. Take advantage of it. Stop being conservative. Don't play like you don't have a chip on your shoulder. You should be mad. You should be mad that you didn't get minutes last year. You should be mad. You should be telling Rick, hey, watch this. I'm going to show you why I should have got minutes last year, and I'm going to show you why they didn't trade me for Pascal. Remember, he was in rumors last year?
Yep.
I'm going to show you why I'm still on this team. And I hate to say it just like you, but man, at the end of this season, if he's not doing that good and we get better and he's still a negative, then might be time for some conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I fully have felt that Johnny Furphy has played better than him so far the last couple of weeks.
And the thing is, Furphy hasn't been playing that well, too. He's just been playing better than Jarris.
Yeah, it's not hard because Jarris has been so bad, and I hate to say it, but it's just the case. And I mean, TJ McConnell has had his moments, right? In this game tonight, I felt like he got way too fast playing with the basketball, became very predictable with the pass he was going to make in transition, and just had some really dumb turnovers. Even though you love the energy he plays with and the steals that he was getting, it didn't always lead to points because he was getting a little too ahead of himself. But
that's why I said he can't start. He can't play 30 minutes a game. That's why.
He can barely play 20 without being out of breath. So
there you go.
He's getting older. You got to watch those minutes. And I thought Furphy, like, the good thing about Furphy is he's got a very high basketball IQ, but he's not a guy that wants the ball in his hands. He's a guy that's going to be very good off the ball. And I think defensively, he's longer than people realize. And so he's probably quicker on his feet laterally than people realize too. So I'm waiting to see how he just kind of settles into this role eventually when playing time does present itself, maybe in 2 to 3 years full time. But like,
are we talking about Furphy here?
Yes, Furphy.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can tell he's got some good instincts.
Yeah, no, I did a little scouting report on him a couple months ago after the draft, and after looking at footage, I looked at footage from like in Australia and like from camps and stuff, and from Kansas. I'm like, he's not a good individual defender. He's kind of slow-footed, but and he reaches a lot. But as a team defender, pretty good. He's good as like a solid plug-in fifth guy to defend. He's decent laterally. He's got good instincts, going for passes and stuff. He's good at getting interceptions, is what I call them. He's a smart player. He's a smart player. And I mean, he's very foul prone, which is, he had a few fouls this Portland game, which I was like, why'd you do that? Why'd you reach in? He had a few fouls like that, but I mean, he's what, 20?
Right.
One of the youngest dudes in the league. He'll get there. And I think there is a spot for him in this rotation come next year, the year after, if, God forbid, Ijax and Wiseman, the injuries are worse than we think. They can't play anymore. Well, they're not as good as they were before. I think Furphy might have some room in there. And we've went this whole thing without talking about Moses Brown.
What are we going to say about Moses? What do you want to say?
That one tweet you had about parting the Red Sea.
I didn't say that. I said he led I said Moses Brown is bringing the Pacers offensive struggles. He's bringing them out of their offensive struggles like Moses led the Egyptians out of slavery.
Yes. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say something like that. Man, come on. But
it was very, very luckily that I got it out there quick enough. Usually I'm not great with that stuff, but it was right there that night.
Nah. But I like Moses. I'm assuming this is the last thing we talk about. I like Moses, man. He's the concerns that people had about him before he got signed are still there. He's not that good laterally. He still has like bricks for hands. Like his touch isn't there. But you get him inside the basket, 2 feet from the basket with a guy on him. He's gonna muscle him out of the way. He's gonna dunk it. If you get him in the pick and roll, he's gonna pick and he's gonna roll. You know, he had some vertical spacing. He had some vertical spacing in the game, the first game he played,
The Wizards
the first
game.
home game. Yeah, the Wizards game. He had some vertical spacing. Guys were double teaming him. And I was
I mean, in that moment they should have. He had 8 straight points.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me we don't need Isaiah Jackson? We just need another guy who's 7'2", can tie his shoes and chew gum at the same time? Let him play. Let him play, you know?
Yeah.
And he's very iffy. Very iffy.
Okay.
Very iffy.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Isaiah Jackson 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, that's true, but you don't have Isaiah Jackson. That's the problem.
You don't. But I would rather have Moses Brown at times than Obi Toppin at the 5 is a better way to put it.
Yes, absolutely. Because Obi, bless his heart, and I hope he doesn't see this, but dumber than a bag of rocks.
Whoa, dumber than a bag of rocks.
The basketball IQ, man. I love him. I love him to death. I'm very happy he stayed. But man, I keep going back to that between the legs dunk in the Knicks game, in the first game. Like, you're celebrating and the guy's hitting the 3. I love Obi, but man, his IQ just sometimes, especially on defense, I feel like sometimes he jumps for every fake. You've noticed that, right?
Yeah. He's not a great defender.
No,
at all.
He jumps for every fake. And sometimes I feel like he just does it just to show off how high he can get. You know? Guy's an incredibly gifted athlete. And I think if he got in the gym with Pascal for like a week, Pascal and Myles get him in the gym for a week, teach him some stuff. If we get like Roy Hibbert, if we get like Ron Artest is doing stuff with the Pacers, get him in there, teach him defensive stances, not to jump, not to reach. He could be a force.
Well, why do the players do that? Do they have a coaching staff that can do that?
I don't know. I don't know. Obi's an interesting case, man. I love the guy. I hope he stays. A lot of people saying he should get traded. He shouldn't get traded. He should not. But man, he's very up and down with him, you know. And I
think he's probably one of the more tradable contracts you have.
Yeah.
Out of the guys on this team, in terms of like necessity to what will make this team a winning team, right?
Yeah.
The thing with Obi for me, I go back to what I said about Carlisle saying this is a system.
Yes.
This is where Obi Toppin is really missing the Pacers playing this system because he is a system player that fits perfectly in this offense next to Tyrese. And I think they should do a better job of trying to match some of his minutes with Tyrese to get him going, because I feel like that's when we've seen him at his best this season so far, is when he's able to play next to Tyrese Haliburton. The random lineup, like you mentioned earlier, with Furphy, with Walker, with McConnell.
Walker, Pascal, Obi front court.
It's not great.
No.
And I feel like he's trying to figure out, like, he hit a crazy, like, off the dribble 3 tonight, which I was like, okay, Obi. But, like, he's a catch and shoot guy. He's not that. And I thought McConnell had a really dumb decision tonight when he tried doing a reverse layup on, like, a 3-on-1 fast break when he had Obi and Mathurin, I think, trailing. Could have easily thrown an alley-oop to one of those two guys and just, like, still try to, like, take a layup. It was just like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just kind of surprised. But, like, Obi was so good in the playoffs at times, right? And I think, like,
the last Bucks game 6 versus the Bucks, insane.
Yeah. But, like, you saw how that team just kind of was playing their system so well. And you had McConnell, you had Shepard, and you had Toppin off the bench. And I don't even think Ijax wasn't even playing in that series. So I just think right now he's in a weird spot in terms of, like, just trying to fit in. And I think once everybody's healthy for the most part, he'll do better and he'll look better. But right now he is definitely one that is hurting because of the injuries, more so than anybody else on the roster.
Yeah, no, for real. I mean, Obi, there was a stretch earlier where he wasn't shooting well.
Yeah.
And at that time, he was unplayable. Unplayable. Because at that time, we were running the mostly half-court offense. And if he's not spotting up and shooting, he's not really worth that much on the floor, you know? Because the fast break offense we played last season, he had like 87 highlight dunks in like 2 months. Guy can fly. Yeah. But the thing is, if you take away that ability to fly, if you give him a half-court offense and he's not hitting his threes, what is he good for? Because that defense isn't there. He's a good defender in spurts. Like, I liked how he did on Jimmy last season in the Miami Heat games.
One sample size.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. In spurts. In a spurt. But, man, it's just, you need to have a certain type of play style to have Obi on your team. And that's why I think people were so down on him when he was with the Knicks, because the Knicks played slow. Their best player was Julius Randle, who's a back-to-the-basket mid-range type of guy. And that doesn't fit with Obi Toppin, who's a running down the court, catch and shoot, lob, pedal to the metal type guy. And I think we need to adjust that. And I think when Nesmith and Nembhard get back, we can go back into playing what we were playing before, the fast-paced offense. And I think at that time, Obi will definitely he'll improve. I got faith in him.
I totally agree. So we're going to wrap things up here by giving out player awards to end the game. Okay, I'll let you do it because you are the guest of honor. So we have 3 awards that we give. We give our Mel Daniels MVP of the game, our Reggie Miller clutch player of the game, and our Feisty Foster hustle player of the game. So where do you want to start? Who do you want to give the awards to?
Oh, so the Mel Daniels. Oh yeah, no, I remember watching him play. The Mel Daniels MVP of the game. I'll give that to Pascal.
Okay.
Actually, no, I won't. I'll give it to Tyrese. You know why? Tyrese needs it.
Okay.
For the confidence. Tyrese needs it for the confidence, and especially because at this point, putting up 28 and 10, I need ammo to go at these people. You've seen me go at people recently. I went after Kendrick Perkins. I went after other people who
8 rebounds too.
I need receipts, man.
Okay, you got an MVP of the game here. Okay, I like it. Who is your Reggie Miller clutch player of the game? Who came up clutch in the 4th?
Reggie Miller. Pascal. That goes to Pascal. Okay. That goes to Pascal. Mid-range, spin, cash every time. Timely shots.
Okay, and then last, our Feisty Foster hustle player of the game. Who you going with?
10 rebounds. That's it, Ben. 10 rebounds. Yeah. Going for everything, man. He deserves it for the whole season, I'd say. But yeah, there you go. Those are the 3 awards.
All right. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not even going to give mine. I might be a little different on some of these, but I'll save that for another day. We will be back. I'll be back Friday to do a Pistons recap. And Rick Carlisle said after the game, this is going to be a tough matchup because Detroit has a lot to play for with their spot in the NBA Cup. So can the Pacers play spoiler and do what they did last year on that Friday night after Thanksgiving and beat the Pistons? This is the game where Tyrese Haliburton shook Asar Thompson out of his shoes and went skipping down the court. So, I'm just hoping that maybe they can play spoiler this year, even if they're not going to make it to the Cup.
If you go down, if I go down, I take you down with me. If I go down, I take you down with me.
I like that. There's a lot of other ways we can go with that one, but Cammy, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. I love the energy. Sure. It is midnight. It is now officially Thanksgiving on the East Coast, so happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope you enjoy your holiday. You got any big plans for tomorrow?
I'm currently working, so I will be working at that time. But hey, man, the food will be consumed. I'll say that. The food will be consumed.
You said, okay, this is a great point to bring this up real quick because...
Oh, no.
You said you don't like stuffing.
I don't. Honest to God, I had stuffing last week. My college is doing a Thanksgiving dinner. The turkey was good. The gravy was good. The mashed potatoes were good. Mac and cheese was good. I had the stuffing. I'm trying to scoop it out on my plate. It stuck. It was sticking to the spoon. Ew. And one of the unks over there, one of the older dudes was like, stuffing isn't supposed to do that. So I got a little bit of it. I had it with some of the meatballs, and I was like, this is disgusting. Why is it sour?
Ew, I don't think you had stuffing.
I don't know what I had. I don't know what that was labeled as, but honestly, if we're saying take something off your Thanksgiving plate to make the stuffing enthusiasts less mad, I'll take ham off the plate because that's an easy out for me. That's
you can't eat ham, right?
There you go.
Yeah, I respect it. Now I was gonna say because me and Facci did our what players are what on the Thanksgiving plate, and we only did active players. Now, for he loves stuffing, so he gave Pascal Siakam the stuffing.
Oh my God.
I said Pascal Siakam's mashed potatoes. It's consistent.
Easily. It's the second thing. Turkey mashed potatoes.
Okay, so that's your number 2, mashed potatoes.
That's my number. Yeah, Tyrese is the turkey, Pascal's the mashed potatoes, and Mathurin is the gravy.
Okay, who's the mac and cheese?
Who's the mac and cheese? Myles is the mac and cheese.
Okay, that's what Facci said.
Yeah. Myles is the mac and cheese. Very high ceiling, very low floor if you don't know how to do it right.
Okay, that's a good one. I said that I think that Myles is the turkey because that to me it's the main, I guess, ingredient or the main thing you look at, but it's not the most exciting thing on my plate. I don't look forward to the turkey the most, right? I look forward to the sides more than the turkey. I think that the turkey is kind of dry sometimes.
It is if you don't know how to make it right. That's true. And very few people know how to make it right.
Right. And so when I'm going to have Thanksgiving dinner, it's like I put turkey on my plate, but I'm looking forward to the sides more, right?
Fair enough.
I said longest tenured item.
Who's the roles? Who's the roles?
I said Quenton Jackson.
Fair enough.
I
like
said it's
that.
empty calories. It's not going to fill you up, but boy, it is exciting to eat.
It'll get you there. Yeah.
It's a good. It's got to be on your plate because you can put it with a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Throw a little gravy on it. It goes with mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Like you can put bread in anything.
Sleeper.
Green bean casserole. You like green beans?
I've had it a couple times. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Honestly, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Green
we
bean
gave
casserole.
Jarris Walker the green bean casserole.
I agree with that, honestly. Again, could be really bad at times. I'd say very low floor, but the ceiling is all right.
That's what I was going to say. That's what we felt
There you
on that
go.
one. Mathurin, I said sweet potato pie or sweet potato casserole. Facci had him as the pumpkin pie dessert.
I'm more of a pecan pie guy, but I see that.
Yeah, I was saying more because I feel like sweet potato casserole has to be at every Thanksgiving. You have to have it.
Right.
It's a part of your core foundation, and it's got that little like. If you ever had the one with the marshmallows on it, like it's got that little extra, pizzazz. And sometimes Mathurin has that. It's just we haven't seen it consistently enough.
So are you saying that sweet potato casserole is the tween hezzy splash of Thanksgiving food?
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm saying. I said McConnell was the stuff.
Fair enough.
It's got to be there, but it's like a backup side to me. It's not a starter side.
For sure. But
some people put stuffing up there as like their number one, number two. So not me, but so anyway, we had a lot of fun with it. It was a good time.
Sure.
And we only did active players right now, not guys that have been out for a while. So wanted to kind of keep it simpler that way and give other guys an opportunity. But me and Facci will be back on Friday morning for a podcast episode.
Facci, we miss you.
Facci, we miss you.
Facci.
He won't even be listening to this. He doesn't listen to shows he's not on. That's how big his
he's mad. He's mad, bro.
he can't handle it, man. He can't handle listening to the podcast without himself on. He's like, where's my Let's Go Pacers? So Cammy, you know how we end our show with the Let's Go Pacers. I'm going to ask you if you're hoping the Pacers can have a clean sweep of this homestand and take down the Pistons on Friday night. Hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go Pacers.